Hey everyone, previously in part 1 in the series I picked up this Velowave Ghost e-bike which I proceeded to unbox and assemble. Assembly went very nice, and once it was completed I proceeded to adjust the bike to accommodate me, fill up the tires, install the battery, test out the electronics, and go for a test ride. I knew before I went for the ride that ergonomically this bike wasn't going to work for me. After a couple of back operations I was going to have to pick up some things to modify it. And that was fine, but after the test ride, I decided to get those things and add it onto the bike before we continue. The bike is back in the garage, bone stock from the original assembly. First, I have this old water bottle holder that I'm going to install onto the bike. There's a provision over here, but it makes me wonder as I think about it, why they couldn't put the provision for it over here. There's nothing I could do about it, so I'm going to have to use the provided provision. So there's 2 provided screws in these provisions, so I'm going to remove them now. Really easy. But I'll tell you, there was just enough room to install this thing. So you can see as I'm installing it, it couldn't go down any further than it already is as I screw it in. But it did make it, there was enough room, so I guess that's it. Water bottle holder, now installed. Next I'm going to install these risers that I purchased off of Amazon. It comes with 2 hex keys. And I'm going to use these hex keys to unscrew these 3 bolts that are used to tighten down the handlebars after they were aligned. We had previously done so. And this top one actually comes off completely along with the top cap. With this we see the entire handlebar assembly, everything slides up and off the bike, held on only by the cables. I rest it carefully. There are 3 spacers on here. I believe this is what we need. As I eyeball this riser, we're just going to put it right on and we'll know. So as I place it over, we can see that it's flush, so that is the correct amount of spacers. Hey everyone, Jordan from the future here. It's not the correct amount of spacers, and this is actually 2 millimeters of headroom. And if I put the original on, you can see that there's a difference, and that difference stops the neck bearings from tightening down correctly. And we can see here that it's actually 7 millimeters of headroom is required. So I picked up some handlebar stem spacers, as we see here. I'm going to take this original back off, and I'm going to pull out a 5 millimeter spacer to shore up that 2 millimeters. Sliding it down, put it back on, and as I measure it, now I got my 7 millimeters, and this will tighten down correctly. I realized this quickly as the front end started making a lot of noise and it was getting louder. So after I tightened everything down, which will be done later in this video, make sure to test, bounce the bike, shake the bike, grab the neck from both ends, and make sure that it's not loose. If it's loose, you'll know easily it'll deflect. It shouldn't deflect. It should just move smoothly back and forth and not make any noise of creeping. The top cap and bolt is reinserted, and then I just screw everything right back down. I don't tighten it down yet. And then I'll take the slack out of these 2 side bolts. The riser adjustment screw is then loosened so I can raise it and change the pitch. I'm just picking an arbitrary value pretty much all the way up. I want it nice and high, and then I'll lock it right back down. I then had to remove the 4 screws securing the old riser to the handlebars. The handlebars were then installed onto the new risers, set into position, centered to the best of my abilities, and then secured on with 2 screws. Once secured, a more comprehensive centering is done. And we can see a common theme here between the motorcycles and the bicycles with the risers. There's the shovel head, and here we have the e-bike. So the risers are done. This was their free gift. It's a bell for a bike, so we'll take a look at it right quick. And I'm going to ring it so you can hear what a bell sounds like. Just wanted to show you that. I guess it would go here where that reflector is right now. There's no room for it at this time, but I wanted to share it. Another ergonomic upgrade. This seat here is just hard as a rock, but I do have the seat cover that I use at the gym. So we're going to take this seat cover and we're going to install it. This is one of those gel seat covers, really nice. And it just has this string here that locks into place and then a tie in the front. So we wrap it around, tie it, and that's it. I think this should be a major improvement for the bike, non-permanent. This is not an ergonomic upgrade, but gives me a place to put my cell phone. I picked this up on Amazon. We're going to install this now. And this uses tension to hold the cell phone in place in case like there's a bump or something, it won't fly off. Furthermore, there's a lock in the back to secure the cell phone once it's in place. So you can't open it even under spring tension. You have to unlock it. But I find that switch seems just a little bit weak to me. But we'll see what happens. And here's the mount. It's a ball mount that goes onto the bar, and it uses these rubber pieces, which is good because none of this bar is round. So I think that rubber is going to be good to shore up the difference there. We're going to give it a shot. Seems like right here's a good location. So I'm going to remove all these pieces first after I loosen this up. Because I only need a couple. And we can see as I install this, there's just like a million miles of room. Obviously, that's not going to work as is. And I ended up using the two biggest ones to fit around there. And it is obviously not round, but it doesn't matter. It does work good. And as I tighten it down, I'll lock it into place. And we now have a good mount right here for it. The holder is then simply affixed onto that mount. I unscrew this piece first, and this piece is installed onto the mount. The unit is then installed on top of it. It sort of locks onto that ball, and then it's screwed right back up into place, finishing this installation. So here's the final cockpit. We have the throttle for scooter mode. We have our LCD computer display control, our phone holder, our front reflector, our gear shifter changer, and our front brakes. That's it. So that last time I drove it to bring it from 100% to 80% was 4 weeks ago. Life gets in the way. I got sick, had to help a family member with a cross-country move, that sort of business. So we're going to take a look at this bike. First thing I want to point out is it only lost 1% of its charge in 4 weeks. You definitely want to have it sitting at 100% charge for a long period of time. That's why I'm really happy that I had it down to 80%, which is a safe place to keep it. By pressing the power button twice quickly, we could get into a configuration menu where the first option is brightness. And I'm going to adjust the brightness all the way down for this video because it's the brightness that's causing problems for my camera when I try and zoom in. As we'll see here, I'm now able to zoom in properly and we get a much better picture for this video. And I move to system next. And we can see settings here for the unit system imperial or metric, the power system 48 volts, power indicators in percent. Auto assist is set to off. Not really sure what that does, but I'm going to hit exit. Not going to change anything. I don't know what it does. Go down to the next one is auto off. And if this thing sits idle doing nothing with the power on for no reason at all, after 5 minutes the whole unit shuts down. And the wheel size 27.5 inches as it arrives from the factory. Advanced we're going to skip for now. Factory setting we're going to skip for now. And password. This is a great feature. And the password out of the box is 0000. And this is good because if you've ever tried riding one of these bikes with the battery and the power off, it's not easy. It's miserable. Very heavy bike. So we're going to turn this thing on. And what's going to happen here is we're going to turn it on and hit reset password. And for this demonstration, I'm just going to make the password 1000. Not going to make everybody sit here and watch me dial in a password. And once this is done, we're going to save it. We're going to exit out of this menu. Just like that. Now we're going to shut this down. And when we turn this back on now, if somebody were to come up to your bike and turn it on, now they have to type in a password to get this electrical portion of the bike to work. And if I just put in something arbitrary, it's just going to say error and shut down automatically. It's going to power off. So now you need a password to operate the electric portion of this bike, which is a nice security feature. It's not foolproof, but it's a nice security feature. Type in your password and it's going to come to that welcome screen, as we'll see here. And it operates as it previously did without the password. So I'm going to go back into the menu, double clicking, and I'm going to go down to advanced. And a big word of caution here on advanced, it is password protected. And the password is published on the internet. It's 1801. And I'm going in here for informational purposes, and I'll tell you why. A lot of these settings shouldn't be messed with because they'll break the bike, but everybody wants to change the speed limit on the governor. I have no desire to increase the speed limit. If I want to go fast, I'll get on one of my motorcycles and go fast. We're going to go down this thing here, and we're going to talk about this as we go along. Because you're riding on bike paths with people, and you want to make this thing really fast. You get into an accident, you're going to hurt people. But you can change your assist levels, poles and motors, whatever that means. I have no idea. I wouldn't change this stuff. The throttle 6 kilometer, I don't know. My bike worked fine without changing this. But Think about that before you do that, because you could hurt yourself or somebody else. It's just not worth it. It's also not really fair if you could be on bike paths going 60 kilometers an hour with people who have to ride regular bicycles and you can end up injuring them. Off-road, your business, do your thing. But factory settings will give you the ability to fix whatever you went and messed up in any of the settings. I'm not going to do it, so I hit back, but it will factory default everything. I've reached the end of the menu system, so I hit exit to take me back out to the main page. For added security, I've purchased an Apple AirTag for this bike, which I'll be concealing in the bike. To that end, I've removed the speaker. I'm not going to show the process of how to do that. You can look that up on YouTube. But I know I'm not going to have enough clearance to mount it, so I've purchased a new water bottle bracket, as we see here on Amazon, as well as an AirTag holder that works in concert with the water bottle bracket, and it hides the AirTag under it. The AirTag's configured, modified, and ready to go. Here's what those two items look like removed from the packaging, and all the different pieces and screws. I removed the old water bottle bracket, which we could see leaves absolutely no clearance whatsoever if we were to push out any further, which is why I had to replace it. Still a pain to remove and put on. And now this new one is screwed to the cardboard, so I remove it. I'll do a quick test fit. This is how it mounts, and I just want to put it on the bike to make sure everything has room. And I could see with this profile, there's more than enough room for all of these pieces to work with the frame of the bicycle. Very good. Again, we have the assortment of screws and tools. I open up this plastic container, and we can see inside is a rubber gasket to keep it watertight. So now I remove the AirTag that I put back in the packaging and place it into this plastic container and close it. Make sure it's sealed properly. And then I'll screw the container shut with the 4 tiny black screws that were provided. Once all 4 are in and the slack is removed, I snug them all down gently, not too hard. I don't want to break the plastic. And that's it. This piece is ready to go. Here's the original screw. I know it's too short. We're going to try for this really long screw and see what it looks like. And yeah, that's definitely too long to go into the frame of the bike. So we're going to go with medium. And medium looks about right. We're going to go with that. And it's a bit of a fiddly exercise to hold all these pieces together with that little Allen key and line everything up and get all into place. But once the screw starts threading, everything holds together and I'm able to tighten everything down. Not tight until both are in, but just to get everything screwed into the frame and then gently snug down to complete the task. And with that, the concealed AirTag holder and new water bottle bracket is completed. And we can see from the side, it really doesn't stick out. And right now, there's not even a water bottle in there, but this should be able to communicate where the location of the bike is. The only problem is because it sits taller, my tall bottle doesn't fit. I'll just need a shorter bottle. So we'll fire up the computer, type in my fake password of 1000. Brightness. Brightness was set all the way to 1 for video recording purposes. Now I can see the screen. So we'll get out of the neighborhood and we'll record once we get on the trail. I couldn't get the GoPro preview to work on the phone, so I adjusted the camera as best as I could and only did the evaluation on the way back. So I just took some snippets of me driving into the trail without the commentary. That way I was able to review it, make sure the angle was good, the audio was good, and I didn't waste the whole time. I'll point out that I did go over this bridge with the suspension locked up front, so I could review later with the suspension unlocked for comparison. At this point, it's miles and miles of no cars, no pedestrians, just bicyclists or scooters or whatnot from here on in. Now getting a workout, even in 3. Let's try the button, just for fun. This is unfair, trying to throttle acceleration on the steepest hill on the trail. It's like, help! Yeah, even that needs some help. It's something I've only used on the bike twice just for testing. That's a real steep hill, though. I have tried it on a straightaway, and it acts like a scooter. It's just an electric motor governed by a throttle. And sometimes when I pedal, I feel like I don't even feel the chain. Like I'm going past the chain already. Like as if I'm going downhill, like it's freewheeling. What I'm discussing here is when you pedal a track bike downhill when there's zero resistance on the pedals and you can just spin them as fast as you want. That's a sensation sometimes, but not when you're going downhill. Right now, 0 resistance on pedaling. Now I'm feeling some resistance as I go uphill. But I can feel clunk, clunk, clunk as I hit some resistance on the actual tire, and then freewheel, hit some resistance. But I guess at that point you would just shift gears, you know. And the gear shifting works well. Now I'm in 4th. And I just double click to 6th, and now it's no longer freewheeling, obviously. I'm pedaling slower. We get up to 7th. 7th is as high as she goes. Because the motor's on the rear wheel, the gear that you're in has no influence on the torque of the motor. Yeah, if you don't want to do that, you definitely got to get into higher gears. And it's a straightaway, and I'm effortlessly pedaling at about 16 miles an hour in 3. Drop this down to like 2. Obviously the grade and camber of the road does change, so it's not like a perfect science here. But still, even in 2, it's almost an effortless pedal now at 16 miles an hour. Almost. That slight grade downhill makes all the difference, of course. Now we're going on a slight incline, and we can feel that 2 is a little bit more difficult to push than 3 is. But still, you know, it's not bad. I'm able to talk through it, obviously. I'm not gasping for breath. I'm coming to an intersection. I actually have to get off the bike here. Put the front suspension back on. I could make it tighter. But right now it seems to be okay. I don't mind having a little of the front suspension on. I don't think it really makes a difference on the street if it absorbs some of the shock. I don't think it's in the camera view, but you can see that right there. Definitely made a difference going over this bridge when the suspension was locked, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely absorbs the shock of the bridge. I don't have one of those seats with the shock absorber in it, but I did put that gel pad on the seat, so that's helpful. This bridge is definitely a good test of that front shock. It's a big difference when I engage that. And go over some of these bigger bumps. Once we get off the trail, it does help. Tap this button right quick, see how we're doing. That's the all-encompassing trip from last time and this time, apparently. So, there's no, like, new trip odometer. You can't split them out. First. This was the biggest incline of the entire trip, which I did on level 3 in first gear, and I just wanted to document it for the video. I could have tried it again on level 2 or level 1, which I'll do in the future, obviously, but yeah, this is level 3. I've started on level 3, and as I get more comfortable with it, there should be an attempt to use level 2 more often. Whew. Maintained about 9 miles an hour going up that hill. Yeah, all in all, did a good job. The tires that I have here that came with the bike, I'd like to get street tires that have less tread in the middle and progressive tread as it goes out towards the wall of the tire. But right now I'm not running to pick them up, but I think that would make it a more enjoyable ride. I think it would be more efficient too. Yeah, so next thing I would swap out on here would definitely be the tires and go with the street tire, since I don't do any off-roading on this bike. We'll get it back to the garage. My smaller Camelback bottle arrived. We're going to see how this one fits. And yeah, looks like that'll work. Very nice. Did another run the following night. The weather dropped down into the 50s. But I wanted to take a minute while it was dark to show what it looks like with this headlight on. This is something. I may have to lower this slightly, but boy, that thing is bright. And we can see one day later I'm showing 39%, where yesterday I was showing 35. That's why you shouldn't immediately charge it after you use it. There's some chemical change with the battery after you let it rest. But I hit the button here and we see the odometer in the trip is pretty much dead on, as you'd expect it. And I got it down to 40% from 100, and I got 33 miles on the bike. And if you go and look at the technical specifications of the bike, we'll see over here that the max range for this bike is 45 miles. And this assumes, even by useless online range estimators for these bikes, that it was in level 1 by a 115-pound person on a level field under the most ideal conditions all the way down to 0. Given that, I think I did okay. Their comparison webpage gives a much more honest appraisal of 25 to 40 plus miles, taking in a whole bunch of factors. Couple things I found from the menu. Instead of going to exit, you could just double click to take you out of the main menu. There's a weird, if not useless feature. Holding down the down button puts it into a walking mode where the bike will run the motor really slow to walk with you. I'll show it again. Just hold down that button and the back tire starts to move, as you see, and it allows a walking assist. Why you would need a walking assist on a bike is absolutely beyond me. It just rolls. Holding the plus and minus button for a short duration will reset the trip counter, as we see here. This will not affect the overall odometer. I'll show it right quick, which still shows 33 miles. That would have to be reset in the settings if you wanted to reset the odometer. And I'm resetting because I want to charge the bike, and we're going to use the onboard charger. We're not going to remove the battery, and we're plugging the charger right into this port. And sadly, you can't use the LCD screen as a charging indicator if you wanted to charge it just to 80, because as I plug it in, the thing just dies, and it's dead. You cannot turn this on while you got the charger in. I'm going to figure out roughly how much time it takes to get to 80% since I can't use the screen. So I'm going to come back in an hour. 1 hour got the battery from 40 to 63%, as we see here. We'll see what half an hour does. Another half an hour got us from 63 to 74%. We'll go another 15 minutes. The charging time is not linear. As you get to the top, the percentage becomes slower over the amount of time. I'm going to add 5 minutes just to see what 5 minutes adds. And we can see that at this point, 5 minutes only added 1% to the charge. What I've learned from this test is I could safely plug it in at around 40% for about 2 hours to get to around 80% charge. Of course, I could charge these batteries to 100% if it's the night before a big trip or every couple of months wanting to balance the cells. It's a good idea. But that concludes the second part in this series on the Velowave Ghost e-bike. I hope you found it enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do. And hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. When the next video comes out in this series, a link will be posted in the top right corner. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?